All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Tim. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. Good to be here again.
Awesome. And again, thanks to everyone who is watching again, back with us for the last 3 weeks. We've been putting out lots of videos, having discussions about all the great stuff that's been happening with reInvent. And I just really appreciate everybody. The feedback has been outstanding. We've really tried to take a more conversational approach to this rather than just throwing recaps at you. And I think it's been a lot more fun for all of us. So perfect stuff.
Yeah, I was happy about this. I feel like for me, I feel like they say the best for last on this one. So
Oh yeah, for sure. And on that topic, so reminder, my name is Jonathan LaCour. I'm the CTO here at Mission, and I'm joined by Tim Banks, who is a consultant with us at Mission.
hey, everybody.
So welcome back, Tim, as I said. And the topic we're gonna discuss today is actually the reInvent serverless leadership session, which was super interesting, and it was interesting for a number of reasons. And we try to do like little to no prep for these videos. So I think that makes it more organic and having good conversation. But Tim, for me, this is really like Amazon coming out strong and saying, we're on the long game here with serverless, right? This is an update to our core philosophy about why this is not just the future, but it's actually the present.
Yeah, and they telegraphed this for a while. If you want to go back to when they first introduced some of the changes they've had in Lambda functions, as far as adding EFS storage, reducing cold start times, increasing the number of languages they have available. The big tell was when they added Lambda functions as part of compute savings plans and things like that. Like AWS has been moving in this direction for a while. Now they've really just kind of just pulled the cover off the whole thing to tell you that serverless functions and Lambda are going to be the main standard of compute going forward. Like that's the direction they've been moving, and that's the direction that the industry has been moving. Whether silently or loudly, that's the direction we're going. And the days of running a single instance workload they're going away, right? And now I feel like for the most part we're treating containers like we used to do instances, and now serverless functions are the new containers.
Yep, that's right. And interestingly enough, they're being really smart about how they approach it as well, like pulling down the capability to deploy Lambda functions from container images is just to me, it's like a brilliant move. Now, since the announcement, I've dug in a little bit, and there are certainly caveats, but like there's no question that they're trying to reduce the friction and get everyone there more quickly. And I think the biggest tell for me about this was if you looked at the success stories they called upon this year versus the success stories they called upon 2, 3, 4 years ago when it came to Lambda. This year's success stories were people like Coca-Cola and Capital One, right? These like enterprises where they're talking about doing things in these very short periods of time with serverless. And you would think, oh, that's got to be a startup, right? It's like, no, this is like an enormous enterprise where typically things take forever, and they're embracing it and they're running hard and fast, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I thought Coca-Cola was so interesting because you talk about how many Coke machines are there in the world, and we're talking about changing the way those operate using the agility that you get using Lambda and other serverless functions. I think it was a fantastic story. It tells you that, again, the theme of reinventing the way you do business has been all over this conference. And I think that this is one of the best ways to talk about it. Coca-Cola, again, a very, very old company. They've been around, one of the first to really be doing the bubbly drink business. It's so ubiquitous that people call, sodas, Coke, because what you think about it. And they're going to say, hey, well, it's 2020. Things have fundamentally changed as far as people engaging how they get their delicious beverages. So we need to fundamentally change maybe how we do it. And to get that kind of fundamental change and a short amount of time they did it, leveraging these technologies is so compelling. It is a story that if they can do it, literally anybody can do it.
Yeah, I completely concur. And to me, it's one of those questions where people have often talked about like, oh, is it ready for prime time? Is this something that can really scale? Is it something we can really use? If Coca-Cola can spend 100 days and transform their entire fleet of vending machines to be able to have touchless ordering through an app leveraging Lambda, you betcha it's scalable and it's ready for prime time, right? There's no question.
And AWS has been really good at just taking the complaints, the bugs, the issues that the customers are raising, and showing that customer obsession and just knocking them out of the way, just
Yeah.
chipping away at all the roadblocks to adoption. That now you have to find, so press to find some edge cases where you can't use it as
Yeah.
as a default compute method.
And I think that'd be valuable to like go through, because one of the things they did is they talked about, they had this slide was like, what is serverless about? Well, it's about innovation, which I can't stand when people boil things down to just one word like that. It's like, it's about innovation. I was like, what does that even mean? But to their credit, they double clicked on it. They went deep and they talked about like why. And if you think about it through the lens of these sort of different stakeholders in a business, it really does surface that they're not attacking this just from one angle. They're attacking it from multiple. So for
Yeah.
developers, it's about agility, right? And just, I just want my code to run, please. And so you see over the years, they've added things like layers, right? The container images announcement from this year, really ramping up ease of deployment, performance improvements, provision concurrency to reduce cold starts, higher memory allocations. 10 gigabytes it was announced this week, which is like incredible. And you have to keep in mind things like observability, right? And that starts to get into operations as well.
Yeah. And I'm as an old ops guy, the notion that now we're going to get better insights into how these serverless functions are running, they need to be deployed, how they need to be scaled, maybe how they're failing. Again, it's a lot of the concerns about how we get them deployed, and how we get them deployed on the fly and very quickly. That speaks to me. Those are pagers that are not going to go off. That's sleep I'm going to get,
Right.
that I wasn't getting before. And that's a super compelling story. When I'm looking at trying to adopt some of these things, and I'm looking at what the technical debt's going to be to get to that point, and realizing that on the other side of that, it's going to make our operations run more smoothly. It's going to give us back our lives,
Yeah.
instead of being chained to a page every time this goes off. I mean, that's a compelling story. That's a good way to sell people on the effort it's going to take to adopt
Yeah.
this.
And it's not just about Lambda, right? Like I harp on Lambda because look, my background is development, not operations. Now I do a lot of operations, have done it over the years, so I'm very excited about that aspect as well. But when you think about above and beyond Lambda, there's a lot of serverless that it happens at AWS. So every new managed service, a new fully managed service that they're launching, is just this incredible burden taken away from you as an operator, right?
Mhm.
I mean, say what you will about Kubernetes, for example. It's a really good example of like, have you ever operated a Kubernetes cluster before? It sucks.
Yes.
It absolutely sucks. You do not want to do that. That is not a thing you want to do. And AWS looks at every single thing, every single open source stack out there. They announced Airflow, like a managed Airflow, relatively recently, managed streaming Kafka, Aurora Serverless, which is their own kind of custom package. But the whole thing is, you don't have to deal with anything other than the fact that it's an API, an endpoint that you talk to that does what it says it's going to do. That's it.
Mhm. And it's funny because we've been hearing that promise, that golden egg for so long, that, oh, we're going to make it simple. You just need to talk to this, and AWS, is starting to really deliver on that, where you just need to deploy it and let it run. And I remember back in the early days of Elastic Beanstalk, and like, oh, well, you just need to put in there and a run, and it's maybe never that easy. It certainly wasn't that easy with Fargate, even with containers. But now they're really doubling down on that, and they're just really starting to deliver. I'm excited to see how this pans out. How some of these functions are going to work in production, especially across a broad number of use cases. And I think that AWS has shown, that they like to do. It's like nothing is ever finished.
Yeah,
They're
it's
always going to
true.
keep iterating on this and making it better. The other thing that I really thought was super compelling, all right, for me, was when they get into that what was it, like the single millisecond billing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as a cost optimization geek too, like, that's super nice. Like, hey, like, because if you can really fine tune your execution, you can save significant amounts of money. Like, it
Yeah.
rewards you for optimization.
And I have harped on this one as well before, and I think in a prior video, but I'm going to say it again because to me this is one of the most compelling parts about Lambda, because it gets deeper than just the benefit to the developer, right? It's actually creating relationships inside your business that were hard before, right? It's
Yeah.
strengthening them. So, for example, I recall many times over my career where I have advocated internally for doing a refactor of something. And having to try to put together an ROI for that has always been one of the most difficult things to do, especially if you're working in, a workload that runs on servers or on-prem environment. Like, I'm going to refactor this. Why? To save resources that we've already got sunk cost in. Like, I don't care about that. That's not my issue.
Yeah.
Now it's completely going to the other end. You can have developers and engineering teams going to finance and saying, we're going to do a couple sprints optimizing these 6 functions, which are the top 6 usage functions. If we shave 15% off of their execution time, that translates directly to 15% off of our bill, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is an incredible partnership that can be created now. The ROI is clear, right? There's
Yeah.
no more argument to have about it.
And like I said, I like having now more observability into that stack. You can see exactly what you need to do in order to optimize some of these executions, where some of these roadblocks are, where some of these bottlenecks are, and that literally that insight literally translate into more money to pay
Yeah.
more engineers or to
Yep.
invest back in the company or whatever. Like, so being able to have that kind of instrumentation is now, it's not just for operations, it's not just for reliability, it is for business critical functionality and for cost optimization. The capability which we never had before.
Yeah, completely true. Um, so interestingly, I think speaking of money, let's talk a little bit about the Capital One case study that they brought up as
Oh
well.
wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was super cool because they're talking about, hey, this is how we had been doing it before. And now there's a pandemic on and people are hurting and they're suffering. They need to contact us. And we got 4-hour wait times. People can't wait 4 hours to talk about some of this stuff. Like, it's super important. So Capital One took that as a call to action, right? And they changed the way they did customer contacts. Again, utilizing serverless technologies and Lambdas and serverless technologies, including Lambda, to cut these wait times out and cut the way that they interact with their customers, or to change the way they interact with their customers, to make it much more efficient and to make it much faster to help people who
Yeah.
needed help.
And I think they said they got it down from like 4 hours to like 10 minutes, which is just,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's
crazy.
incredibly cool.
Yeah,
It's incredibly cool. And you brought up the theme of this year's reInvent has very much been reinvention, right? And that is a great example of like this big mega bank, right? Reinventing itself using technology to drive a better outcome for their customers, which is pretty cool, right? It's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I really like that. I think one of the things that I thought was important about that, and I think we can all see, it's like, because we're talking about something as simple as an IBR, or a way that customers call,
Yep.
right? Which is something a lot of people maybe wouldn't have thought about using any kind of serverless functions to do, right? You think of very old traditional ways of doing it, where you have trunk lines and you have kind of these big Lucent systems or Cisco systems to handle phone calls. But no, there are so many more options, and especially if you're a larger enterprise that maybe has one of these older legacy systems, it gives you a good idea on maybe how to rethink how you do that, because
Yep.
now you have the capability of doing it much more agilely, much more securely, and certainly much more cost efficiently than ever before. And at a time, and especially in times like now, that translates into big changes, like into big changes in a business and a big difference for people. Like a 15, like you said that before, a 15% cost optimization in your bill. That's several engineers that get to keep their jobs,
Yeah,
like, or that's a
exactly.
bonus you can pay out. Like, that's a real thing that's important to people. That it's not just, we're not just talking about nickels and dimes and theoretical things that make a business good. We're talking about things that can make a difference in people's lives, which
Yeah.
may seem like, oh well, Tim, why would you ever say that? We're talking about tech, but that's what it is. Like, you're utilizing tech to make a difference in people's lives, and it's really cool to see how the innovation that the engineers and the folks at AWS and product teams are doing can make that difference, right? Because of the things that they've created, because of the ways that these companies are saying, hey, well, we can utilize this. You're talking about people that have time back in their lives because they don't have to spend 4 hours on hold with Capital One. They spend 10 minutes, they get their business done, and now they can go about the rest of their day.
Right. Yeah. And if I had to summarize this entire leadership session in one phrase, it would be kind of like, what are you waiting for? Right? Like,
Yeah.
there have been plenty of reasons to wait on looking into serverless and seeing if it's ready. But, between Coca-Cola and Capital One, right? There are customers that are very likely much bigger than you and much more complex than you that are already leveraging serverless to great success, right? So
Mhm.
what are you waiting
Yeah.
for? right?
Yeah.
Were you waiting on more memory allocation? We've got that. Are you waiting for support for building it with common tooling? Well, hey, container images can now be deployed as Lambdas. Are you looking for the right programming language to be supported? Guess what? You can build your own custom runtimes. And by the
Yeah.
way, our library of runtimes is huge now, and it's just
Yeah.
like more and more and more.
We run stateful workloads. Well, we can handle that too. So they've been just chipping away at the roadblocks to adoption. And I think what's important, one thing I want to call to mind, that we here at Mission, we help people get to that point where they want to be, whether it's through our insight, whether it's our experience, whether you need us to lay hands on keyboards, whether you need us to be there when you whiteboard, whether you need us to help you do cost optimization. Like, that kind of digital transformation is something that we do over and over and
Over and
over
over.
again. And we are happy to help folks get to that point where they can make that kind of difference.
There you go. And I love it. I think that's a good place for us to close. What a great session this was. Inspiring to think about what can come next for all of us and our customers. I think a couple of quick notes. If you enjoyed this video, you should check out our blog at missioncloud.com, and you can see all the other videos we've done, including several that Tim and I have done together, a couple with some other groups. We've done them on containers and security, all sorts of good stuff. So check that out for sure. And thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to hearing from you, and looking forward to doing this again next year.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.